What if one of the biggest economic shifts happening in America right now isn't in tech or finance or even AI, but in stadiums? Right now, across the United States, cities are pouring tens of billions of dollars into a new wave of mega stadium projects, not just to host games, but to transform entire economies around them. We're talking about projects so massive they're creating thousands of jobs in construction, engineering, and long-term operations, reshaping downtown districts and, in some cases, redefining how cities compete on a global stage. But here's the part most people haven't fully realized yet. While countries like China have been building stadiums at a pace that's turning heads worldwide, the US is quietly entering its own era of high-stakes sports infrastructure, with projects that are bigger, more expensive, and more economically ambitious than ever before. So, the real question isn't just who has the best stadiums anymore. It's this. Are these mega projects the key to long-term economic growth and job creation? Or are cities taking on massive risks in a race they can't afford to lose? Today we're breaking down some of the most insane stadium mega projects happening across America right now. What they're costing, what they're creating, and what they could mean for the future of US cities. And if you're interested in how infrastructure, jobs, and economic strategy are shaping the country around you, make sure to subscribe. To understand what's happening here, you have to zoom out because this isn't really about sports anymore, it's about economics. Across the US, cities are pouring billions of dollars into stadium projects, not just to host games, but to build entire districts around them. Retail, housing, entertainment, tourism. These venues have become anchors for large-scale urban development, and that's changing the scale completely. A single stadium today can cost anywhere from $1 billion to over $5 billion. But the building itself is just one piece. When you factor in surrounding development, the total investment often climbs much higher, turning these into full economic ecosystems. And with that kind of investment comes jobs, thousands during construction. Engineers, electricians, steelworkers, project managers. Then long-term roles in operations, security, media, and event management once the doors open. But the real bet goes beyond that. Cities are chasing something bigger, consistent economic activity. Super Bowls, concerts, international tournaments, events that can generate hundreds of millions of dollars in a single weekend, and ripple across hotels, restaurants, and local businesses. That's why this isn't slowing down. Cities aren't just competing for teams anymore. They're competing for attention, investment, and global relevance. Because once one city builds something iconic, the others can't afford to fall behind. If there's one project that defines this new era of American stadiums, it's SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Because this isn't just a stadium, it's a $5 billion statement. When you first see it, it doesn't look like anything you'd expect. The entire structure sits partially below ground level, carved into the landscape rather than towering over it. And floating above everything is a massive translucent roof canopy that stretches over the stadium, the surrounding plaza, and even the adjacent lake like a single continuous shell. That roof alone spans nearly 1,000 feet, making it one of the largest of its kind in the world. But what makes it even more impressive is what's happening underneath. Inside, SoFi holds over 70,000 fans, expandable to more than 100,000 for major events. Suspended above the field is a double-sided 360-degree video board, the largest in sports, wrapping the entire interior in a continuous ring of digital display. But there is something even more interesting about this project. SoFi is the centerpiece of a much larger development known as Hollywood Park, a multi-billion-dollar mixed-use district that includes retail, office space, residential units, and entertainment venues. This is exactly what modern stadiums are becoming: economic ecosystems, not standalone buildings. At its peak, construction employed thousands of workers across dozens of trades. Engineers, steelworkers, electricians, logistics teams, all working on one of the most complex construction projects in the country. And now that it just became operational, the stadium continues to support long-term employment in operations, media, security, and event management. But what really elevates SoFi is its global role. It's set to host the 2028 Summer Olympics, along with Super Bowls, international matches, and some of the biggest entertainment events in the world. And each of these events brings in massive economic activity, not just for the stadium, but for the entire region. If SoFi Stadium is about scale and long-term development, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas is about something else entirely: speed, precision, and economic impact. Because Las Vegas didn't just build a stadium, it built a $2 billion revenue engine designed to operate at full capacity almost year-round. Located just off the Strip, Allegiant Stadium stands out immediately. A sleek black exterior, sharp lines, and a massive glass wall that opens up to a full view of the Las Vegas skyline. At night, the entire structure glows, turning it into part of the city's entertainment identity. Inside, it holds around 65,000 fans, expandable for major events. But like SoFi, the design is only part of the story. What makes this project so important is how fast it came together. Construction began in 2017 and was completed in just a few years. For a project of this size and complexity, that's incredibly fast. Thousands of workers were involved throughout the build, making it a major short-term job driver for the region. But the long-term strategy is where Las Vegas made its move. Unlike traditional markets, Vegas doesn't rely on local fans alone. It's built around tourism. Every event is an opportunity to bring people into the city, and that changes the math completely. Instead of just hosting 8 or 9 home games a year, Allegiant Stadium is designed to be active constantly. More events, more visitors, more spending across hotels, restaurants, transportation, and entertainment. That means more jobs, not just inside the stadium, but across the entire city. But there's also a trade-off. To make this project happen, public funding played a role, which sparked debate around cost, risk, and long-term return. And that's something you're going to see again with other projects across the country. If SoFi raised the bar and Las Vegas refined the model, the next wave of stadium projects is where things start to get more complicated. Because cities like Buffalo and Nashville aren't just building for spectacle, they're building for growth. And in both cases, that comes with real trade-offs. In Buffalo, the new home for the Bills is a $1.5 billion project currently under construction, set to open later this decade. Unlike SoFi or Vegas, this isn't about tourism first. It's about keeping a team rooted in its city while modernizing infrastructure around it. But even here, the scale is massive. Thousands of construction jobs are tied to the project, with long-term roles expected once it's operational. Local businesses are projected to benefit from increased game day traffic, and the surrounding area is expected to see new development tied directly to the stadium. At the same time, a significant portion of the funding is coming from public sources, and that's where the conversation shifts. Because while the economic upside is real, so are the questions around cost, return on investment, and how those benefits are distributed. Now, compare that to Nashville. The Tennessee Titans' new stadium is part of a much larger multi-billion-dollar redevelopment plan along the east bank of the Cumberland River. This isn't just a venue. It's a full-scale transformation of an underdeveloped part of the city into a dense mixed-use district, all built around the stadium as the anchor. And just like the other projects, it's expected to generate thousands of jobs during construction, followed by long-term employment across multiple industries once complete. But again, public funding plays a role here too. And that's what makes this phase of the stadium boom different. It's no longer just about building bigger or more advanced venues. It's about how these projects are financed, who benefits from them, and whether the long-term economic impact justifies the upfront cost. If the current wave of stadiums shows where things are today, the next wave is about where this is all heading. Because some of the most ambitious projects in the US right now haven't even broken ground yet. Take Chicago, for example. Their proposed new stadium for the Bears isn't just a replacement venue. It's part of a multi-billion-dollar development that could cost over $5 billion when fully built out, including a mixed-use district with housing, retail, and entertainment. But the scale goes beyond just cost. The project is projected to create more than 50,000 construction jobs and thousands of long-term positions tied to operations, hospitality, and surrounding development. And that's the real shift. This isn't just about building a stadium. It's about building an entire economic ecosystem designed to generate billions in long-term impact, attract over 1 million visitors per year, and position the city as a year-round destination for major global events. But as this race accelerates, the stakes get higher. And it's not just happening in isolation. While other countries are building at unprecedented speed, the United States is now being forced to decide how aggressively it wants to compete. Cost is the first challenge. These are multi-billion-dollar developments, often backed in part by public funding. And while the promise is long-term growth, that return isn't always guaranteed. Then there's execution. These stadiums rely on everything around them to succeed. If that development falls short, the entire economic model starts to weaken. And finally, there's the long-term impact. Once these projects are built, they shape cities for decades, how people move, where investment flows, and how communities evolve. But at the same time, the upside is real. These projects create jobs, they attract businesses. They can transform entire districts and put cities on the global stage. But what do you think? Are cities building long-term opportunities or taking on massive risk in a race to keep up? And more importantly, what would you want to see in your own city? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dives into the infrastructure shaping the economy and the world around you, make sure to subscribe for more.